seen a defense emerging for Donald Trump and the Trump crime family. And it will go something like this. When the crime, when it becomes clear that Trump tried to overturn the election and incited an insurrection and all this other kind of stuff, and this is becoming more and more visible and more obvious that he did this and that it, all that, he's going to say, I actually believed that the election was stolen from me, and the guy who convinced me of that was Rudy Giuliani. So he's the guy you should throw in jail. And frankly, I think he's been setting this thing up for a while now because Giuliani has been the front man for all these things. Giuliani, it turns out, we learned last night, was the guy who was organizing the fake electors in the swing states, which is a crime. And Giuliani was being informed in part by, some folks from other countries, specifically in this case Russia, but other countries as well. So, Trump is just going to say, I just believed my lawyer. I just believed my advisor. I believed the people around me. And you can't pin this on me. And the proof of it is that at the very, every single moment, every terrible thing that you say I did that it was illegal, I was doing in public. I was telling everybody about it. And I was telling them why I was doing it because I thought the election was stolen. So the question in my mind is, because I don't believe in any universe that Donald Trump actually thought the election was stolen. Presumably there's a remote possibility. But the question is, when pathological liars, obviously Donald Trump is one, and he's been lying his whole entire life, 30,000 plus lies during his years in the White House. When pathological liars lie, and they do so incredibly convincingly, and their behavior is consistent with their lies, is that because they're brilliant actors who have learned how to play the role of an innocent person believing something that is wrong and use that to justify their lies? Or is it because part of their pathology is convincing themselves that their lies are true so that then they can be convincing liars? And I don't know the answer to that question. And so I thought, let's get Dr. Justin Frank on, the psychoanalyst and clinical professor at the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Science at George Washington University, the author of Trump on the Couch, among other books, so Obama on the Couch, Bush on the Couch. Justin Frank, MD, over on Twitter. Let's get him on and ask him. And Dr. Frank is on the line with us.
Okay, here's the thing. I think everybody has lied as a child, and we've all been lied to as children. So the issue is, what happens if somebody completely believes your lie and you keep doing it? Donald Trump started lying at a very early age. And part of the lie was mocking his parents because he knew that they didn't love him. So he switched as a liar into saying, I love you. I am good. I am this way. And so he was actually turning us into the child him who's trying to believe other people. So what he's done is he's always been a liar. Now, in his book, The Art of the Deal, in 1987, he actually said what he's going to do in terms of your idea with Rudy Giuliani. He said in 1987 the story, and I think that story was made up. He told a story about an artist who came to his house and said for lunch, and he said to Trump, if we can wait for 20 minutes before we go to lunch, I'll show you how I can make $25,000. And Trump said, sure. So the guy took out a canvas, scribbled a bunch of paint on it, and was done in about 15, 20 minutes. He says, okay, I'm going to bring this to my dealer, and they'll sell it for $25,000 right now. And that's because he was relying on his name and his fame, and he figured anything he did would get $25,000. Trump wrote that in his book. And The Art of the Deal was born with that story. And that's what Trump has always done. And he announces it beforehand. Not only that, the cleverness of the story was he didn't say it was his idea. He said it was somebody else's idea, the artist, the guy who told him how to do it. And that makes me think that he's going to do something similar like what you're saying with Rudy Giuliani. He's going to blame the other person for implementing the lie and getting away with it. And he's got plenty of evidence for that because actually, he was followed by all kinds of people and believed by all kinds of people as he grew and as he developed. But actually, it was Rudy Giuliani who wrote those fake ballot results from different states and sent them in.
Right.
That was not Donald who wrote it. But Donald Trump is a liar, and one of the consequences of liars is that they get other people to believe them. We're all an anxious group of people, much more so now since COVID, and he can get his lies believed. The question is whether a person telling a lie over and over again begins to believe it himself or whether he's an actor. And that's what you were asking, I think. And I think that there's no way to know for sure, but I think a liar who repeats them over and over again does begin to believe them. They really do believe them. It's a form of repetition, and they begin to believe what they're saying. I actually think there's a part of me that thinks he did believe the election, that he won the election. I don't know about it being stolen, but he believed there was something wrong. And I think it's because he believed he was going to win. And Fox News told him he was going to win. His friends told him he was going to win. I just think that there was a part of him that believed he was going to win, almost like the part of him that in 2016 believed he was going to lose. Remember when he thought he was going to lose?
Yeah, and he was surprised. But that means that he can't be prosecuted. I mean, I'm seeing federal prosecutors on TV saying that, mens rea, the state of mind, is the critical thing that you have to prove for fraud. And you have to prove that the person who was, dragging somebody into a fraud was doing so knowing that it was a fraud. If they believed it was not a fraud, then they didn't commit fraud, even though fraud got committed. I mean, that's going to be a challenge.
I'm not a lawyer, as is obvious by now, and I'm not sure about what you're saying because I don't think that's the issue. The issue is whether he plotted to overthrow the government, and I think he did. And it's not necessarily because he was a liar. It's because he believed something to be true, and he was going against what everybody else said was a free and fair election. And he decided to use violence to overthrow the government. That's what he was doing. Whether he was lying to himself or lying to others, to me, is less important. Although in the long run, Tom, the most damning legacy of Donald Trump, unless he brings down our entire democracy, which is possible still, is that he is lying and the power of lying. And he will have made it that the assault on truth is part of our culture now and that we don't believe anything. We've always had trouble believing things. Will Rogers said in the 30s, all I believe is what I read in the newspapers. And he was saying that tongue in cheek because he knew the newspapers weren't telling the whole truth.
Yeah.
And Stephen Colbert at one of the Bush White House dinners talked about truthiness, and that Bush is a man of truthiness. I love that. And so we know about lying. And so I don't remember which debate it was when somebody said, how can you tell if so-and-so is lying? Said, his lips move. I mean, that was in one of the Reagan debates, I think, or I don't know who it was. But the point is that we've had lying in our culture forever. And but Trump is the consummate liar, and he has written about it. He's written that he doesn't call it lying. What he calls it is truthful hyperbole. That's what he called it in 1987 when that book came out. Right. And truthful hyperbole is a lie about lying, because hyperbole itself is a lie. It's an exaggeration, and it's a lie about lying. So he legitimizes what he does, says it's truthful hyperbole, and that's that.
Yeah.
And it's really disturbing.
Well, I'm telling you, when they close in on him down in Georgia on this, telling Raffensperger, just get me the 11,000 votes, this is going to be his defense. I believed I actually won the election, and I was just asking them to make sure, et cetera, et cetera. We'll see how it goes. But Dr. Justin Frank, thanks so much for weighing in with us today. I really appreciate it.
Okay.